Hello and welcome to New Forest Morphs, and today Mandy's joining me on the weekend. It's Saturday, it's the 7th day towards Christmas, and we've got some surprises hopefully today. I've been a good boy, so hopefully Santa's going to give me a pressie. Should we go and find out what's under the tree here, Mandy? Should we go and have a look? See what we can find. Well, it looks like there's a gift there. What can you see there, Mandy? And it looks like the beautiful snowmen have brought the gift today, so thank you to the lovely Snowman family that have come. Father Christmas has sent them especially to us. Now let's see what's inside. It's beautifully wrapped as usual. I think what we'll do, it feels quite heavy. There may be something very special in here, Mandy. Should we go and have a look and see what's there? Come and join me on the table. Let's see what we've got in here today. This is so exciting. Right, let's see what we've got. I wonder if Father Christmas has been looking at my wish list again. Let's see. Oh, Mandy, come and have a look. It's absolutely stunning. Look how beautiful that is. You see that? Any idea what it is?
No.
Okay, well, let's get it out and have a little look. It was on my wish list. Let's have a little look at this fella. Oh, he's absolutely beautiful. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Now, just have a wee look at him, Andy. He's got a lovely temperament. Look at the head stamp and that beautiful pinky red eye. And you can see the lovely patterns on him. You see the whites and yellows? And then you can see he's got white dots on his alien heads. And he's got vibrant colours. He's absolutely stunning, isn't he? So this is called an albino. And this is one of the very first ever recessive genes to be discovered in the ball python history. And I believe a man called Bob Clark, based I think in the US, he imported, he had a friend that was based in Africa, and they were discovering these unusual animals in the wild that were giving off, you know, these unusual colours, where they were looking very white and yellow and pale, and he brought them over. I think it was back in 1989, and about 2 or 3 years later, back in 1992, he produced the first ever captive bred albino. At least that's what we believe. I mean, there may well have been other breeders that were involved in the project before, but they never really went public on it, and they never really publicised it. But so Bob Clark has been attributed to being the one that discovered the captive bred albino. And this is the very first recessive gene discovered in the ball python history, and is responsible for the popularity of the hobby. Because let's face it, when I first saw these myself, Mandy, I fell in love with them, and so did Emily. And as you know, we bought a beautiful leopard albino girl 18 months ago, which we'll bring her out again and show you how she's doing. But I wanted a boy, and this boy has got another gene in him as well. It's het for clown. So we'd like to thank Jakub, who's based over in Czech Republic, who obviously liaised with Father Christmas to make sure this happened. And let me just see the name of his business. I believe he's got a business that sells ball pythons and geckos, and it's Jakub from Dolezel Reptiles. So it's Jakub Dolezel Reptiles. And he sells geckos and ball pythons, high-end stuff, and he's got a website, and he's on Morph Market. We found him on Morph Market, and then he redirected us to his website, and he has got such a beautiful range of animals. Go check him out. So it's a big thank you to Jakub for sending this through to us. And the reason why we went for a albino het clown is because I've also got a clown het albino girl who's about 600 grams. So he's going to be part of a pairing with her. So looking forward to getting him up to size. But he really is beautiful, isn't he? Lovely, Mandy. Gorgeous. So let's just talk about the albino gene. Because it's a recessive, you need two visual albinos, male and female, to produce a visual albino offspring. Or you can have a het to a het. So if you have two visuals, all the offspring will be 100% albino. If you have a het to het, 25% will be albino. Or if you have a visual to a het, 50% of them will be albinos. So we've got the chance of getting 50% albinos that we put to the girl, clown, who's het for albino. And also we have another 25% chance of getting, well, 50% chance of getting a clown. So the chances of getting an albino clown would be 1 out of 8, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's correct. So if she gives us 8 eggs, we could well get 1, possibly 2 albino clowns, and they're beautiful. And I'll put a picture of one up for you so you can see how gorgeous they are. But let's just talk about what makes this such a special snake. So the albino gene is recessive, as I said, but also it is what they call T positive. There's a term that they use in the industry, and when I first heard the word T positive, I thought, what on earth does that mean? So there's various enzymes in a snake that produce certain characteristics, and one of the characteristics that it creates, it can either create what they call a melanistic gene, which is with colour, like with the blacks and the darker colours in the gene, or you can call what they call amelanistic, which is the opposite, where it's being stripped of the darker genes. So in nature, animals like to have camouflage, and when they have camouflage, they normally go for a black, browns, darker colours to hide amongst the leaves and hide amongst the earth. So actually finding a albino in the wild is really rare. So obviously when the people found them, they were just amazing because they're so rare. But now these are one of the most popular genes. If you go onto Morph Market, you'll see there's an awful lot of albinos out there because they're so popular. And you can see why. The beautiful vibrant colours, the bright yellows, and the contrasting with the white is amazing. So the reason why these are called T positive is because there's another enzyme beginning with T, and I wrote this down because it's quite a scientific name. It's called tyrosinase. It's the enzyme in the gene that actually produces dark pigment, which is called melanistic. And if you're T positive, you don't actually have the black pigment in there. You're being stripped of it. And if it's T negative, you have the melanistic genes in it. It's much darker genes. So T positive is more albino, and T negative is much more of a darker gene, just to keep it simple. So let's just have a look at the story of how Bob Clark went about discovering this. So in 1989, as I said, he went over and he brought these snakes over in 1989, and it took, I think, 2 or 3 years for him to produce the first albino visual, and that was in May 1992. And in August 1994, Bob's facility got broken into because the first albinos were selling for, I don't know, $20,000, $25,000, $30,000. I mean, they were really very valuable snakes. And unfortunately, people got word of how valuable they were, and they broke into his facility and they stole the original male that he brought from Africa. They stole a clutch of albinos that were sitting on incubation, and they sold a few of his het females that he was producing for the market. And obviously, can you imagine if someone broke in and stole your prime snakes? Such a sad story. But the good news is that the authorities managed to find them, and they were brought to justice. And so he was able to continue with his breeding program, thank goodness. So the other thing that was of interest is that Bob also produced the first albino Burmese python as well, and that was done 3 or 4 years earlier. In 1986, he already had this journey with a different type of python. So I think he's obviously specialising in the albino genes, and I think that must have given the foundation to seek for the albino in the ball python gene. So there we have it. Now, let's just put this little fella back, and then we'll bring out some, shall I bring out his partner? Would you like to see his partner, who's clown het for albino? And you can see that these are the two that are going to go together. So let's have a little look over here, Mandy. So we've got over here, now we've had a bit of a reshuffle. I think it's Xena. Here she is. Now she's quite shy, but come and have a little look. Have a little look at her. And she's just going into shed. Now this is your wife. Okay, so that's Xena. And that's your husband. Now he hasn't got a name yet, so if anybody could give us a name for this little fella who's so beautiful, please feel free to drop that in the comments. And that's his wife to be. She's 650 grams at the moment, so it'll take another 1.5 to 2 years to get her up to size, which is fine because it will take him about a year to get up to size as well. So we're going to put this little fellow in the light box. Now, the one thing I will say, and we need to be careful with albinos, is that because they've got red eyes and they've got very little pigment in the eye, they get blinded by light and they go into panic mode. And I think when you're feeding an albino, if you want to get the best feeding response for an albino, definitely feed it in the dark, otherwise it can miss its food. Now I'll just show you the impact of light on this snake and see how he responds to the light. And just have a look at him in the light box, but I think he's not going to stay, he won't like the light. And there he is. Actually, he's not being too bad. I'm surprised at just how patient he is with the light. There we go, isn't he lovely? What are your thoughts, Mandy?
Oh, lovely.
I'll just put him down on the ground and see whether he'll stay for us. There he is. He likes the shadow of the snowman, I think. There we go. You gonna play with the snowman? Oh, isn't that lovely, man? Got a snow background as well. And he's got that lovely snowy white on him, isn't that lovely? There's a photo shoot for you. And have a look at his body patterns as he works his way around. Crazy patterns. Beautiful, beautiful animal though. And I think the snowmen are enjoying having him as part of the family, man. So there we go, so now he's coming around the side. Look at his eye, look at his tongue. His tongue's also red as well. So the thing about an albino is they have pink tongues and pink eyes. And they can be combined with so many other genes to produce such beautiful animals. Isn't that just lovely? Let's have a little zoom in on him and see whether we can get a closer picture of his body pattern. There's his body pattern for you. Isn't that just beautiful? Lovely. And I'll see if I can zoom in on his eye pattern and his head pattern as well. There's his head stamp. Got a lovely head stamp to him. Look at the head stamp, man. And look at that lovely, beautiful back dorsal. Just beautiful, Mandy, just beautiful. I'm really, really happy with him. So thank you, Father Christmas, for this lovely gift. And now we'll just have a look at a couple of other combos. And I'll give the camera back to you, Mandy. And we'll just slip him back now. Actually, I'll just grab him now while he's showing himself. There he is. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Lovely animal. There you go, man. Right. So yes, we'll be very grateful for any names that you can come up with for this little fella. but he's beautiful. And look, this is what he looks like in the natural light. So should we get some pictures of him in natural light? There he goes. I love the red eye, Mandy. Beautiful. And the temperament's beautiful as well. He's a lovely animal. Really, really pleased with him. And a lot of people go for the albino pieds, and they put the pied and albino together. And I think we'll be shooting for that as well. Put that into our collection. Go for the pieds, because if I just slip him back in here a second. I'll just show you what we've got over here. So Daisy is can you see that Daisy's the same gene with leopard in her? And we have featured her before, that she's 50% het for pied. So the plan is that we've got Cookie, who's a pied het for albino. And if we get albino pieds, I think they're going to be, with leopard pieds, they'd be beautiful. But there's Daisy for you. And then we have one other snake, which I shall show you, which is called Zeus. And this one is a different type of albino. If you want to have a little look at this one, Mandy. This is a black-head lavender albino that's got a lavender look to it. You'll see it's got some purple colours to it. You see it? And he's about 600 grams. He's almost ready for breeding. And can you just see how white he is? How beautiful he is. Gorgeous, isn't he? So he's part of our breeding projects. And that's called a lavender albino. And the lavender is more of a purple colour rather than white. That's a separate gene. They're not compatible with the albinos, but they are nonetheless beautiful. And he's a lovely little fella. And I've had him for about a year. Me and Emily have been raising him. And you can see how beautiful he is. Look, there he is. Gorgeous, gorgeous snake. Right, we'll slip him back. Thank you very much. And then of course, we've also got the Dreamscicles, which are lavender albinos to pieds. So I want to bring out Peach. Now Peach is in, she just shed out today, there she is. And I weighed her. She weighs 650 grams. So she's making great progress, and we'll put her in the light box and see how she looks. There you go, darling. Let's have a little look at her. There we go. Isn't she just lovely? So that's the Dreamsicle. That's a lavender albino crossed with a pied, and she's obviously keeping herself a little bit private. I'll see if I can get her to poke her head out a little bit. There she comes. But look at those beautiful colours. And she's just shed today, so you're seeing her at her very best. And I think she's gorgeous. And her husband Bowser, who's also 650 to 700 grams, we've put him out to produce some hets, and I'll just show you where he is. I don't think he's in there. I think we put him to the pastel yellow-belly pie buttercup. And look, they've tucked into bed together, Mandy. You see? They've tucked themselves in. So let's have a little peek and see if he's learnt to lock. It's his first breeding project. I know he's got his tail alongside her, which is a good sign. I'll leave them over the weekend and see if they can learn to lock together. So really pleased with that. Right, Mandy, I'll just put the female back if you'd like to take the camera. There she is. Now she's a substantial animal, Andy. She's getting really solid. Really pleased with her. Right, let's just go through a few genetics and then we'll call it a wrap. Okay, so with the albino gene, there are several albinos out there. We've covered the first one, which is the albino, and the second one I've mentioned is the lavender albino. Now you can't put them together to get visuals. You would create two hets if you put them together. So if you want a visual lavender albino, you've got to put it to another lavender albino. So the two Dreamscicles, when they're up to size, will produce Dreamscicles 100%. The other animals that are in the albino, you probably may have heard of a caramel albino. Now the caramel albino are gorgeous. They're this beautiful caramelly colour, and again you have to have a caramel albino, which is a recessive, put to a caramel albino to produce a visual. And there are some other snakes that are getting kind of close to the albino, and believe it or not, the banana and coral glow, although they're not albinos, they actually have quite a low pigment, dark pigment in their coloration, so they are moving towards that range. And the other one is the ultramel, and again the ultramel is separate to all these other genes, they're not compatible. And then the other one is the rainbow, and the rainbow is quite a low pigment colour as well. So if you want to put in these all into one category, they all have slightly different variations, they're all slightly different genes, but they all kind of have that kind of high T positive or low dark genes in them. Okay, so let's just look about the combos, some of the favourite combos out there. Now, you may have heard of an animal called a cherry bomb. A cherry bomb is when you put an albino to say a Mojave, a super Mojave, which is a bell. So if you put a Mojave and a Mojave together, you get a blue-eyed leucistic, and that's called a bell. Now if you want to produce a red-eyed leucistic, you could put the super Mojave, which is the bell, to an albino to produce a bell het for albino, and then you'd put that to an albino to produce a albino bell. And an albino bell is often known as a red-eyed Lucy, or they call it the cherry bomb, and they're quite hard to hit, but there's not a lot out there in Morph Market, but I'll put a picture up for you so you can see what they look like. The other combos that people like are what they call the candinos. So what they do is they add a gene called candy, which is often known as toffee. So they're both two separate lines of the same gene, so you can have candy and toffee, and if you put a candy and toffee to a albino, you can produce a candino, and they are gorgeous. And again, the toffee and the candy are recessive genes, so you're going to get two recessives into there, and I'll show you a picture of those. And people also call them toffinos, so if they're not called candinos, if they use the line toffee, they call them toffinos, and again they're really beautiful animals. So we spoke about the albino clowns, and I would recommend something like an albino leopard clown. I think will look stunning. The other thing is, what people do is they put the black genes into these animals as well. So, you know, I showed you the beautiful snake, which is the lavender blackhead, which we bought about a year ago, and that's got like purple colours. But if you want it to really look even cleaner, what you do is you bring in something like blackhead, black pastel, cinnamons, super mahoganies or sumas. If you use these black genes and you put them into the albino, you get an extremely white, yellow contrasted snake. Because what the pigment does, it takes all the black pigment from the original animals that you're putting to them and converts them into a very bright white colour. And that's why a lot of people put the black genes in, so that when you produce a visual albino with these genes in, they really do pop. And you can see that in Zeus. He's just such a beautiful animal because he's got blackhead in there. The other thing that people do is to brighten them up, they add orange dream, yellow belly, and they are gorgeous. Obviously we spoke about the impact of Mojave, so a Mojave albino in its own right is beautiful. Then they introduce things like spider to get this pattern in, because spider is quite a dominant gene, and the albino is a very dominant gene. So what you find is that when you mix it with other genes, it's quite hard for the other genes to have an impact. But if you use a really strong dominant gene like spider, it will have an impact, and you'll see how it impacts. The other famous animal that people try and shoot for is called the snow. And I suppose that's pretty good for being a Christmas festive period. The snow is the VPI exantic, which we've featured before. And you put that to the albino and you get this amazing snake called the snow. And I'll put a picture of that up as well. And if you really want to get onto the cutting edge of where people are at the moment, people use what they call the tri-stripe, which is again a genetic gene that is actually recessive. And the tri-stripe albinos look beautiful. We've got 3 stripes down the back, mixes up the patterns. You get that lovely yellow and white, but you get a totally different pattern making, and I think it's beautiful. And then people also bring in what they call the hurricane gene. Now the hurricane gene, you'll see all the alien heads swirling like this, like hurricanes. And if you put that to an albino, they look beautiful as well. And I'll try and get a picture of one of those for you as well. And then there's 2 other combos that I particularly like. One is called the Highway Mystic Albino. So you get the Highway, the Mystic and the Albino all combined together, and they are beautiful. And then the last one I'm going to mention, which is cutting edge, is the Scaleless Albinos, which is a really double recessive gene, quite hard to hit because the scaleless projects are relatively new, they are building all the time. But again, I'll try and find a picture of a scaleless albino and show you what they look like. But they're just a few of the projects and ideas that we can maybe shoot for. I think here at New Forest Morphs we're going to shoot for the albino pieds, we're going to shoot for the albino clowns, and then we might put them together to get albino clown pieds. We'll bring in the orange dream, we'll bring in the yellow belly, we'll brighten everything up, we'll bring in the black head, we'll bring in the black pastel. We'll put all those colours into the mix and you'll get an extreme, intensive, beautiful looking animal that has the patterns of the clown, the pied markings. I think it's going to be a beautiful project, and there's 10 years of effort there to be able to achieve that. So hopefully I've shared a few ideas with you. If you're thinking about getting into the albino gene, I would definitely go for it myself. I think they're beautiful animals. I'd like to thank Mandy for being our camera lady today. I want to wish everyone a very happy preparation for Christmas. I know they've only got a few more days remaining, but feel free to put a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Put any comments on the bottom if you have any questions on the albino gene and what it can and can't do. I'll be more than happy to respond. And it's goodbye from Mandy, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from New Forest Morphs. See you tomorrow.